Hey everybody, my name is Brandon from thestockstreams.com, and today I want to talk about Coinbase stock, ticker symbol COIN, and how it is down over 8% in a single day. And firstly, I know I haven't posted a video in a month, and the reason for the break is because I wanted a break. So now with that out of the way, let's get started. So here we are on Google, and here's a 1 month view of Coinbase's stock charts here, and we can see that Coinbase has had a pretty nice run, up nearly 40% before the earnings report, but then when the earnings report was released on November 10th, obviously it didn't go so well for Coinbase, which dipped more than 8% after the release, which we can see more clearly in this 1 day view of Coinbase's stock charts here. But of course, the question that we always ask here is, why do we drop 8%? And obviously that's because of the earnings report, but what in the earnings report caused investors to drop this name like a hot potato? Well, if we look down here at the news, we can see that everybody's talking about how Coinbase missed analysts' expectations. Now we'll get into the numbers from the revenues and expenses in the next section of the video, but I just want to talk about the main concept of analysts' expectations here. Firstly, analysts have a very difficult job of having to literally predict the future. Predicting the future, even with a ton of data, is incredibly hard. So to me, I never do really care if a company makes or misses expectations. What matters to me is the story of how the company did and the macro environment that the company is in right now and for the near future. So again, to be clear, Coinbase is likely down because it did miss analyst expectations. But the macro story of Coinbase here is what I'm trying to focus on in this part of the video, and I want to focus on talking about government regulation and the likely growth of crypto as a tender. There will likely be regulation for crypto coming from the United States and other governments around the world in the future, but particularly for Coinbase's case, the United States is what matters. The power that the government regulations have was already seen when Coinbase had to cancel plans to launch a Bitcoin lending service. Eventually, laws and regulations like the pseudo-regulation around Bitcoin lending will come in for crypto, for better or for worse. And being a company in the United States, Coinbase better adhere to the United States laws. But right now, the problem is that there's really a lack of clarity around the SEC and regulatory bodies regarding future laws for cryptocurrencies. Coinbase does not want to put itself into a position where it has launched a new product only for it to be shut down a year or so later because Gary Gensler, the chair of the SEC, comes knocking on Coinbase's front door with the regulation cannon. Because of that, even though the story of cryptocurrencies are moving fast, Coinbase may have to purposely move slow and not innovate until the rules of the road becomes more clear, made by the SEC or other regulatory bodies. This purposeful slow movement and non-innovation may not be what shareholders want, and rightfully so. And this takes us to the last macro part that I want to make here about Coinbase. Coinbase is tethered to the macro bull case of cryptocurrencies and NFTs, obviously. For me, the future of cryptocurrencies and NFTs do look bright. From Facebook, now known as Meta, chatting up the metaverse to distract everybody from the bad things that they're doing, is bullish for cryptocurrencies and NFTs because those are the things that people are likely going to be playing with in the metaverse. And because of that, Coinbase will likely benefit. So long term, Coinbase will probably grow as with cryptocurrencies. But the metaverse is years in the future. I'm talking tens of years in the future. Investors in Coinbase need to consider that if their bull case for Coinbase is a derivative play on the metaverse, the bull case may not come to fruition for a very long time. But after talking about the regulations and cryptocurrencies macro cases for Coinbase and how Coinbase dropped 8% today, largely due to missing analyst expectations, now let's head on over into Coinbase's most recent earnings report so we can talk about how Coinbase is actually doing as a business. So here we are in Coinbase's most recent earnings report for the third quarter ending on September 30th, 2021, which is this column here, and that is compared to a year-over-year view with the same quarter ending in 2020. Firstly, this is a more detailed view of the statement of operations, and this is something that investors in Coinbase should definitely look at. And we will look at this part of the statement of operations in a minute or two, but I actually want to talk first about this part of the earnings report. This is a separate table that they have shown earlier on in the earnings report, and this shows the quarter over quarter, with this being the most recent quarter, the third quarter of 2021. I want to show you this first because this will probably give you a better picture of why Coinbase dropped like a hot potato today. And that is because of the numbers from this quarter versus last quarter, the second quarter of 2021. We can see for all of these metrics here, everything has decreased from the second quarter to the present quarter. And that is definitely not good if you are a growth story like Coinbase is. from all the last quarters, we have been growing momentum. We have been growing as a company. From monthly transacting users to net revenues to net income, everything has been going up and up and up until this quarter. This slowdown is why investors got a little bit skittish with the earnings report. Coinbase is a growth company with about a 40 price to earnings ratio, and that is expensive and pretty high. And you want to see a growth company continue to grow. Anything that challenges that growth narrative will likely cause the stock to drop, and this slowdown in the numbers quarter over quarter from last quarter to this quarter is definitely challenging that growth narrative. Investors need to be aware that a potential slowdown is occurring for Coinbase here, which could contribute to more downwards pressure on the stock. So after talking about this table here, which is the main reason why Coinbase has dropped 8% today, now let's switch back here to the more detailed view so we can look year over year. And the year over year view looks amazing. If we look at total revenues here, look at this growth in total revenues year over year. That is about a 4 times increase in total revenues year over year. If we keep looking down here at the operating expense block, which is this block on the earnings report here, we can see the total operating expenses is also growing quite quickly, around 5 times year over year. But that is to be expected if the company is growing. What Coinbase is really doing here is that it is pushing a lot of money into sales and marketing and its technology and development to pay for this growth in revenues here. So this growth in operating expenses could actually be justified by this amazing growth in total revenues here. But with that said, you will notice that our total revenues number is still larger than our total operating expense number, which means that we are keeping some of this revenues here, and that is coming down into our net income, which is this line on the earnings report here. We can see that we are definitely able to keep more of this total revenues here because year over year, look at that growth year over year. That is about a 5 times increase in net revenues. Firstly, absolutely fantastic numbers. However, when we look at the number of shares in circulation, which is this block on the earnings report here, we can see that shareholders are getting diluted. We can see that the number of shares on the float is increasing more than 3 times year over year here. As a shareholder, you probably do not want to see dilution like this, but it could be justified if you look at this growth in total revenues. Again, that is absolutely phenomenal. But again, to summarize, it's important to look at the financials and really anything at different timescales to get the entire picture of the company. It's up to investors whether they want to put more weight into this year-over-year growth that Coinbase is seeing or this quarter-over-quarter decline that they are also seeing. But with that said, let's head on over to the trading charts to see if there's a level or two to buy Coinbase if we want to buy Coinbase. So here we are on Coinbase's trading charts, and we can see what a fantastic uptrend that we have had in Coinbase for the past month or so before being punished by our earnings report here. We can see that we really broke this trend line that was intact for the past month. So the question is, what happens from here? The first thing that could happen is that we bounce off from this $320 support level that we are currently at right now, made from the tops and bottoms of these candles over here. We could bounce off of that upwards because, again, the year-over-year view of Coinbase was quite good. However, what could also happen is that we break this $320 support level and drop back downwards because of the fears of the quarter-over-quarter growth. I think that we definitely could bounce upwards from this $320 level, but if we do break this level, then I think we could actually drop back down all the way to the 290s or the low 300, which is the support level made from the bottoms of these candles over here, as well as the top of the strong candle over here. I think that is a level that we could settle at and could be a good entry point to the stock. However, if we do break this $290 to $300 support level, then I think we're going to be back down to the 275s, which is actually a pretty strong level made from the tops of these candles over here, but also the 50-day moving average, which is this blue line here. For me, I think that would be the spot where I would be much more interested in opening a position in Coinbase if I wanted to open a position in Coinbase. However, as always, I would not be filling out my entire position at the $275 level, because if we break that, then I think it is lookout below. But honestly, I would be surprised if we do get all the way down to the 275 level. I would not be surprised if we test this $300 level again. So that was my review on Coinbase stock. Let me know what you thought about it in the comment section down below. If you have any questions or if you caught any mistakes, also drop me a comment down below. If you liked the video, please like the video. If you haven't subscribed yet, please subscribe. And as always, thanks for watching, and I hope you have a great day.